Before you open the door to this brand new day, a quiet ache may already whisper. What if the unknown ahead proves too heavy? In the grey hush just before sunrise, you stand at the crossroads of hurry and pause, longing for an inner alignment that steadies motives before feet move. The cool air brushes your cheeks, asking whether you will listen for heaven's counsel or rush past its gentle hush. You lift your gaze and honor the Lord who gives courage to sparrows and kings alike, who calls you to persevere through every hour until the subtle work of His Spirit begins to transform each ordinary task into worship. Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust bends restless thoughts toward God. He straightens crooked paths and authors the melody of your morning steps. What burden would you surrender if you believed guidance or waited the moment you knelt? Which desire would you entrust if you knew love had already paved your way? Now, as your heart grows still, we step into. The first light has not yet cleared the horizon, yet dew crowns each blade of grass like a congregation of silent prayers, inviting you to linger. Let the hush settle around your shoulders. Feel how the world's frantic pulse slows when you choose stillness over momentum. Breathe in deeply. Count to 4. And notice how your chest rises like a small sail catching promise. Exhale. Count to 6. And sense the weight of half-formed worries drip to the ground as mist. Here, you exchange restless pacing for a throne room audience, discovering that the Almighty delights in unhurried arrivals. You stand barefoot on wooden floorboards or cool tile, hearing only the faint rustle of leaves greeting a timid dawn. In this pocket of quiet, release the illusion that life begins when you start working. Acknowledge instead that life flows from the one who already works on your behalf. Psalm 467. Silence is not absence, it is God's amplitude. The less you speak, the more His voice expands within your soul. Recall the Israelites gathering manna, bread that melted under scorching sun. If collected too late, their survival depended on greeting morning early, trusting provision before production. Your spiritual nourishment follows the same rhythm. What you glean in stillness fuels resilience for later heat. So cup your hands, gather mercy like fresh flakes before hurry dissolves them. Picture the calendar pinned above your desk. Each square brims with meetings, errands, deadlines. Yet none claim ultimate authority. The author of time does. As you wait, invite him to rewrite today's agenda, replacing vacant business with purposeful steps. Whisper every appointment, every conversation, ask which must remain and which may gently fade. You will find some tasks downsized, others brightened, all framed in grace rather than pressure. Now attend to your body, unclench jaw, roll shoulders back, let eyebrows soften. Physical release teaches the heart to yield. Posture preaches the gospel to muscles that cling to control. Feel pulse steady, thoughts clear like a pond when wind dies down. Memorize this sensation. It will become a refuge you can revisit at any hallway, traffic light, or coffee queue when noise tries to reclaim you. Finally, lift open palms toward the slowly blushing sky. Thank God for breath, for the promise that He rejoices over you with singing even before birds find their song. Vow to begin all movements from this consecrated center, a temple not built by hands, but carved in dawn's grace. Let this pause be longer than your fear of lost productivity, and watch how minutes offered to eternity return multiplied in peace. As the horizon brightens, your spirit is tuned to receive the next gift. The gentle turning of motives toward his heart. You step from stillness into examination, like turning a gem beneath new light to see hidden angles sparkle and flaws surface. The breeze that cooled your waiting face now slips into deeper rooms of thought, stirring motives lodged behind accomplished smiles and careful plans. A fresh dawn asks not merely what you will do, but why. It invites every intention, generous or self-defending, to stand honest before the Lord who discerns marrow from bone. Where ambition has masqueraded as service, where fear has dressed as diligence, you sense a gentle nudge to loosen disguises and let truth breathe. You picture your heart as garden soil, tilled yet cluttered with stones of comparison and weeds of approval seeking. Kneeling, you press a finger into the earth and feel both softness and resistance. In this inner plot, good seed will thrive only if clutter yields. So you gather unseen rocks, jealous bargains, silent resentments, and place them at Jesus' feet. Each relinquished stone lightens chest and shoulders, and space opens for roots of genuine love to spread. The garden's fragrance rises when you choose purity over performance, gratitude over entitlement, and generosity over score, keeping. That aroma will follow you into every hallway today. Search me, God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. Psalm 139:23-24. These words become mirror and medicine. When divine eyes explore your interior, exposure is never condemnation but compassionate surgery. Removal of splinters permits fuller life. With distractions named, you turn toward alignment, the sacred act of aiming desires like arrows toward the true north of God's kingdom. Echo Christ's morning confession. Your will be done. Until syllables settle deeper than lips, redirecting plans that once revolved around personal gain. You view workplace successes as altars, family conversations as liturgies, commute minutes as hymns. Even the smallest task undertaken for love's sake grows eternal significance. Purpose ceases to waver with shifting praise because it is fastened to unchanging delight in God's smile. Breath by breath, invite the Spirit to draft your inner agenda. Ask, will this email bless or merely impress? Will this purchase serve wholeness or disguise emptiness? Do not fear his answers. They arrive wrapped in gentleness, pruning only what hinders your blooming. You may sense a prompting to apologize before coffee, to listen longer at lunch, to postpone a project until peace replaces rush. Each yielded decision straightens posture, and you feel ribs expand with unforced rhythm, as though lungs learn a higher song. Now lift chin to the brightening sky and whisper gratitude for alignment already begun. Thank the Father that motives, weighed and calibrated at dawn, will steer gestures, tones, and choices when afternoon fatigue looms. Resolve to revisit this heart. Check whenever shadows lengthen. Confident the same grace that meets you now will realign you again and again. Let surrendered desires sail outward like lanterns over calm water, their reflected glow guiding other travelers toward hope. The soft corridor between dawn and day invites you into silence, forging a sanctuary where sound itself bows. Alignment has swept clutter aside. Attentive stillness may now enter, delicate as wings beating in slow motion. The world awakens in murmurs, dripping eaves, a distant truck, a single sparrow rehearsing its solo. Yet beneath these audible stirrings lies a frequency only devotion can detect. You close your eyes and let each outer note drift past like river reeds, refusing to chase or critique it. Attention becomes a thin, shining thread lowering into the current of God's voice. Patient senses feel for slight tugs of guidance. Not every moment yields clear instruction, yet consistent listening tones the soul the way dawn exercises sky, stretching color until day demonstrates fullness. Elijah learned this discipline when fire, earthquake, and wind subsided, and he finally perceived the gentle whisper. Is 1 Kings 19:12. Power often hides in subtle places. Batteries charge quietly while storms exhaust themselves loud. Listen for the low tones. They carry authority more durable than thunder. Allow the same hush to train your senses now. Hear the faint rhythm of blood pulsing near your ears. It reminds you that the Creator still sustains interior oceans without requiring your management. As you inhale, ask, what are you highlighting? As you exhale, listen without editing, trusting the Spirit to sift echoes from counsel. Sometimes a name surfaces, sometimes a caution, sometimes only the reassurance that companionship itself is the answer. To strengthen perception, engage your other senses. Notice the scent of brewing coffee, the warmth of sunlight inching across your sleeve, the tiny shift of air when a door in another room opens. Every detail becomes a syllable in heaven's sentence. The more thoroughly you inhabit the present moment, the more readily you discern invitations nested inside it. Write what emerges. Even a fragment. Call mother. Skip sugar. Start proposal after prayer. Become stone on a path you will follow later. Recording keeps impressions from evaporating and teaches you to recognize tonal consistency. Heaven rarely contradicts scripture or character. Over weeks, you trace a golden line weaving through journal pages, proving that the same friend who spoke in yesterday's dawn perseveres in today's. Yet quiet is contested territory. Notifications buzz like insects, inner monologues rehearse arguments and agendas. When such noise intrudes, you need not scold yourself. Gently acknowledge distraction, then return to breath the way a pilgrim returns to a familiar mile marker. Each return is victory, revealing desire stronger than interruption. Eventually, you sense guidance less as lightning flash and more as patient, magnetic pull. You walk into hallway light aware of subtle nudges, shaping tone and timing. Before lips move, you wait the extra heartbeat needed to answer with kindness instead of reaction. In meetings, you feel promptings to ask healing questions rather than defend expertise. Listening births responses no agenda could script. As morning stretches toward full brightness, commit to keep this interior ear open through every hour. Whisper, speak again, I am still here, whenever clatter threatens. A soul that hears becomes a window flung wide, letting love and ingenuity flow like wind through open rooms. Dawn's hush has given you a compass hidden in your chest. The moment arrives when sandals meet threshold, and the hush of early prayer must translate into movement. You tighten laces, grip the door handle, and feel the thin membrane between contemplation and action stretch. Then, with a deliberate inhale, you cross it. The street holds lingering shadows, yet your heart carries dawn's fire. Courage is no longer a theory, but an energy thrumming in your limbs. You remember that bravery is rarely loud. It is the quiet decision to obey, the nudge you heard while the world still slept. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. So Joshua 1:9. These ancient words do not inflate ego. They anchor resolve. Presence, not bravado, forms the backbone of fearless living. An email waits that may spark conflict. A project looms that once felt impossible. A difficult conversation whispers of risk. You resist the reflex to delay, and instead lift each concern like a stepping stone submerged in fog. In prayer you name the obstacles and see them shrink to size. Now, as you advance, they arrange themselves into a path. The Spirit who spoke in stillness travels with you, translating insight into impulse. When doubt flares, you recall the garden you cleared at dawn. There is no room for fear to root in soil already claimed by trust. Observe the sparrow lighting on a wire overhead. Frail bones, fierce will. Its leap into air seems reckless until you notice how wind upholds it. So you send the honest message, propose the bold idea, volunteer for the unseen task. Your footfalls echo a melody older than mountains. Steps tuned to grace, not applause. Some will misinterpret your confidence. That is not your burden. Your duty is fidelity to the voice that summoned you from quiet. Courage also listens. Mid-stride, you may sense a holy redirection, an inner tug guiding you to pause in a corridor, text a friend, pray over a stranger's name. Obedience in miniature proves the mettle of daring. Grand risks are forged in these tiny nods to divine suggestion. You begin to see the day as a map unfolding in real time, lines appearing exactly when you arrive at each corner. What once felt precarious now feels like choreography with an unseen partner leading. When resistance surfaces, sarcastic remarks, unexpected complications, remember the breath prayer learned before sunrise. Your strength, not mine. Whisper it and find backbone straighten. Tone soften, imagination spark with solutions you never drafted. Problems reveal themselves as platforms where God's sufficiency may shine through your humble yes. At midday, sunlight glances off windows, scattering brilliance like confetti across sidewalks. Pause under that shower of light and recall how dawn's stillness planted this very bravery. Gratitude floods veins, cooling any overheating ambition. Courage, you realize, is sustained not by constant acceleration, but by rhythmic return to presence. Each courageous act becomes seed for fresh thanksgiving, and thanksgiving in turn refuels valor. As afternoon beckons, choose one tangible gesture that embodies this habit of bold adherence. Maybe a forgiving phone call, a daring proposal, or a silent prayer over a restless neighborhood. Let it be a memorial stone you'll recount tomorrow at dawn. Proof that hearing and doing can kiss in the everyday. Close your eyes for a heartbeat. Feel wind stroke your cheeks again, and trust that the same hand steadying you now will guide the next long stride. The midday sun climbs high, draping pavement and computer screens in relentless glare. This is the hour when dawn's crisp resolve can wilt, and the soul feels stretched between unfinished lists and rising fatigue. You sense familiar temptations, mindless scrolling, hurried speech, half-hearted work, promising quick relief, yet stealing deep vitality. Instead of drifting, you return to the rhythm learned at sunrise. Slow inhale of purpose, deliberate exhale of worry. One measured breath reconnects you to the inner altar, where prayer still burns, reminding you that persistence begins with presence, never with performance. Picture a marathoner once the cheering crowd fades. Miles 15 through 20 unfold without applause, yet each stride carries the quiet honor of commitment. Likewise, your tasks now occur offstage, unnoticed by many, yet witnessed by the shepherd who never slumbers. So you press forward with patient excellence, wiping a countertop, proofreading an estimate, encouraging a colleague. These seemingly ordinary motions weave unseen threads that will strengthen tomorrow's fabric and echo eternity's cadence. Let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Sir Galatians 6:9. The promise does not guarantee ease, it guarantees fruit. Endurance is the soil where miracles germinate, hidden until their appointed bloom. Fatigue still whispers, but you answer it with prayers more potent than caffeine. Between calls, you close your eyes for 3 breaths, speaking Jesus' name like cool water on parched lips. Between errands, you share 7 silent seconds beneath a leafy canopy, offering gratitude for trees that have endured countless seasons. These brief pauses do not break momentum, they renew it, oiling the joints of mind and spirit with calm resilience. Challenges arrive to temper resolve. An unexpected critique lands in your inbox. Heartbeats spike, yet defensiveness subsides as you reread slowly, mining the words for any kernel of truth. You ask, "What can this teach me?" and reply with measured clarity, discovering that perseverance often wears humility's cloak. Later, a supply delay halts progress. Rather than brooding, you organize documents, pray for co-workers, and refuse to let waiting become wasting. Obstacles transform into training weights, heavier, but building durable strength you would not gain on a downhill path. Throughout the afternoon, you echo the dawn refrain, "Your strength, not mine." Each repetition greases weary hinges. When someone thanks you for consistency, you silently direct praise heavenward. You recognize that steady resolve is borrowed, not self-made. Even monotony becomes sacred ground once you realize faithfulness grows in repetition, the way roots widen unseen beneath commonplace soil. As shadows lengthen and light softens, marvel that the day's relentless drum still finds you upright. The secret is no secret. You have tethered every hour to the first pause, alignment, and whisper. Perseverance is simply your original yes, lived out 1,000 times. Gratitude now warms chest and cheeks. A hushed celebration that endurance is possible whenever presence remains unbroken. The journey is not yet finished, but you already taste the promised harvest, a quieter confidence, a gentler tone, and a heart still tuned for transformation that tomorrow will unfold. By early evening, golden light slants through windows and ignites dust motes into miniature lanterns, reminding you how the ordinary shimmers when viewed through the lens polished at dawn. You notice subtle evidence of renewal. The hurried tone that once edged every reply has softened into warmth. The inner flinch at criticism has melted into curiosity. And tasks earlier dreaded have become offerings woven with quiet joy. Each moment you paused, realigned, listened, and stepped forward became a brushstroke on an unseen canvas, steadily revealing a picture of grace in action. Transformation, you realize, is not an abrupt crescendo, but a patient symphony assembled note by note across the day's score. Walking home, you replay the hours and detect delicate fibers of change stitching themselves into habit. The apology you voiced before coffee altered the atmosphere of an entire team. The choice to eat lunch in mindful silence turned a routine break into communion. The decision to bless someone who wronged you redirected both your stories onto a kinder trajectory. None of these acts demanded spotlight, yet each carried the quiet power of a seed breaking open beneath soil. Night birds will sing above sidewalks that felt hostile at sunrise, because your simple yes created room for hope to roost. Transformation also visits the body. Shoulders once rigid with unseen tension now rest lower, breathing flows deeper, almost musical. Eyes linger longer on beauty and less on screens. Even fatigue changes tone, from bone, deep drain to satisfied ache, as though muscles recognize they have worked alongside something eternal. You begin to comprehend that prayer is not a pre-task ritual, but the bloodstream of every gesture, infusing errands, conversations, and thoughts with living water. As street lamps flicker, pause beneath one and envision tomorrow's dawn already forming beyond the horizon. You will return to sacred pause, heart alignment, quiet listening, courageous step, and persevering rhythm. Yet the cycle will not feel redundant. Like sails catching fresh wind on a familiar sea, each repetition will guide you farther than the last, because today's lessons become tomorrow's starting line. Growth spirals outward, never merely circles. Now gather the day's fragments, joys, stumbles, surprises, and lift them toward the night sky as an offering. Whisper gratitude for everything, reshaped motives, words, and even the disappointments that pressed you back into dependence. Trust that the potter continues molding while you sleep, turning surrendered clay into vessels capable of carrying greater light. Let this trust cradle you, for transformation thrives best in rest, the silent kiln where character hardens into lasting beauty. Finally, bless the coming hours of darkness. Ask that dreams remind you of truths learned awake. Petition that households, neighborhoods, and cities feel small tremors of mercy radiating from the changes birthed within you. Then step across your own threshold once more, bearing quiet confidence that the habit of praying first has indeed changed everything, not by removing struggle, but by threading the divine through every stitch of time. The day ends, yet the transformation begun at dawn continues its quiet bloom within your beating heart. Take a slow breath and allow memory to sweep back over the arc of this day. Notice a single instant when peace displaced panic, when patience eclipsed irritation, when creative spark flared in what was once dull routine. Hold that image gently. Recognize it as evidence that the one you sought in early stillness accompanied every step. Now whisper thanks, and let gratitude widen into hope for tomorrow. Feel chest rise, shoulders fall, jaw unclench. Rest in the certainty that you are loved, guided, and continually renewed. Remain silent with that assurance, letting it settle deep here.